Everyone,
Good evening.
happy to be here this evening with you folks. As promised, I have two new firefighters that would like to introduce themselves this evening to you. I think a couple of you have met them already, but I'm here to bring them forth. We have today with us Michael LaChance and Adam Stevens.
Hello, I'm Michael LaChance. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to start my fire service, and I look forward to having a long career here at Township.
Thank you.
I'm Adam Stevens. Thank you for this opportunity. I've looked for a very long time for a fire department to call my home, and I believe I found it.
Welcome, both of you.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the consent agenda are minutes of the June 18th, 2024 regular meeting, statements and checks, and the treasurer's report for June 2024.
So moved. Support.
Motion Rowe, support Aldridge. Is there a discussion? On page 2 of the minutes, I just want to clarify that there were changes at the previous meeting minutes, if you can make that change. Any other comments regarding the minutes? Treasurer's report? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the attorney's report. Mr. Winters, do you have any general legal update?
Madam Chair, the general update would be that the Township Planning Department continues to have a number of ongoing developmental-related projects in the works. All of you are aware that Aldi's has started to move dirt and are well underway with their construction. It's my understanding they wish to be open sometime by November of this year. Culver's continues to go through the process. They're going to be located next to Aldi's. At the same time, there's another Holiday Inn that's been moving through the process, located over there by behind Leo's, so to speak, and they're continuing to get closer to approvals. Likewise, there's a Comfort Inn being proposed that's pretty near the process being completed near Michigan Avenue and Hewitt over there by Wendy's and Tim Hortons. There's also a Sheets Fuel store. It's somewhat new for me to understand what Sheets is, but they sell gas and they actually prepare food on site. And I know that they've had a large footprint in Pennsylvania and Ohio, and they're now trying to really expand that footprint into Michigan. They're nearing a stage where they can be approved as well. So the only point I'm making right now is there's a lot of development going on in different parts of the township, which I think is a good sign as we are in the middle of a lot of building construction. At the same time, I'm working with Mr. Hines as he continues to implement the infrastructure projects the township board has approved. I think we now have pretty much completed the renovations to the township's community resource center. That's the township-owned building on Tyler Road. It's been used by the West Willow Neighborhood Association for a number of years and other community groups. We also continue to work with getting the renovations to the fire station number 3 on Hewitt Road. So that's just kind of a very, very quick overview. There's a lot of different construction projects, and many of them are on the agenda tonight for further discussion, as well as ongoing public nuisance cases that Belinda Kingsley cannot be here this evening, and so I'll probably try and explain those as best I can to the board as to why she's recommending authorization to go to circuit court. Again, this is kind of a very, very brief overview, and if you have any questions beyond what I've said or written in my letters, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions or comments? No? All right, we'll move on to new business. The first item is first reading of proposed ordinance 2023-503, which is it says 503. Change the 507, an ordinance to amend Chapter 62, Article 4, Section 62 through 77 of the Code of Ordinances for the adjustment of the water and sewer rates. Clerk Rowe?
I have ordinance number 2024-507, an ordinance to amend Chapter 62, Section 6276A1 of the Code of Ordinances, Charter Township of Ypsilanti, to adjust the water service rates. Be it ordered the Charter Township of Ypsilanti that Section 62-76A1 of Chapter 62, Article 4 of the Code of Ordinances be revised as follows. For all the billings rendered prior to September 1st, 2024, existing water service rates shall prevail. For all billings rendered on or after September 1st, 2024, charges for water service rates shall be as follows for each bi-monthly or 2-monthly period. So readiness to serve rates based on size of meter. The meter size of 5/8 to 3/4 is $17.94. 1 inch is $44.48. 1 to 1.5 is $89.68. 2 inches is $143.48. 3 inches is $448.38. 4 inches is $896.77. 6 inches, $1,793.54. 8 inches is $3,138.69. 10 inches, $4,932.23, and 12 inches is $5,829 even. There's a commodity rate of $3.88 per 100 cubic feet. I would so move the first reading of ordinance 2024-507.
Motion Rowe. Support Swanson. Mr. Blackburn.
Good evening, Supervisor Stumper, members of the board. The proposed rate ordinance change in front of you reflects the recent budget that the authority has developed. We see expenditures increase this year by about $1.5 million for various items. The proposed budget does leave approximately just over $500,000 in remaining cash that would add to our fund balance if everything in the budget came through as predicted. Over the last 5 years, especially coming out of COVID, the authority it's a new dynamic, I would say, in the water industry. For years, we've seen a reduction in water usage. Now we're seeing where it's at least sustained, and we're seeing slight upticks through development. We definitely feel maybe more students coming back to school, restaurants doing more dine-in service. So we're seeing a change in water usage, and that is reflected in the budget. A slight increase over the previous years. In regards to the water rate increase, things that have went up in the budget that impact that are professional services. Last year we did Shadford Tower, was a major project for the authority. This year we plan on doing Ellsworth ground storage tank. We need to inspect that tank, and most likely are going to have to do some type of coating project as the exterior of the tank is showing significant corrosion. Other capital acquisitions that we do each year that add cost to our budget are road repairs. The authority is engaging on the first phase of a meter improvement project this year. Most of the meters, a meter that would be inside of a residential or commercial property, that entire infrastructure that the authority manages is aging, and most of it is not even supported by the manufacturers that we work with. So we're being forced to move into new systems and new meters. Is a major project the authority has going on. Included in your budget highlights document is a number of upcoming capital improvement projects. These projects are in different stages. Some of them are actually in construction. For example, our Headworks odor control project at the plant, UV disinfection project, those projects are ongoing now. Sugar Brook is getting ready to, the east portion of that project for water main improvement is beginning to start construction. Lead service line replacements, water meter upgrades, just a different array of projects that the authority is engaging on in the next fiscal year that are in different phases. I would point out there is a typo that I made, and I apologize for that, in the cover letter for the water and sewer rate change. It does indicate that that's a 2.65 increase in Township Division customers' bi-monthly bill. That should say $2.65. That's not 2.65%. The percent is actually 2.57. So that's a typo in that cover letter, and my apologies for that. Since we're just speaking right now about the water, I will limit it to the water rate increase the authority is proposing, which was approved by the YCA Board of Commissioners on June 26, a 3.07% water rate increase. That is the same increase that Great Lakes Water Authority passed to YCA, which became effective July 1st of this year. And I welcome any questions.
Questions and comments regarding the proposed increase? No? So we have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. This is a first reading. The second reading will come back to the next board meeting.
Yes.
Number 2 is a first reading of proposed ordinance 2023-508, an ordinance to amend Chapter 62, Article 4, Section 62 through 76 of the Code of Ordinances regarding the adjustment to the water service.
I have ordinance 2024-508, an ordinance to amend Chapter 62, Article 4, Section 6277 of Code of Ordinance, Charter Township of Ypsilanti to adjust sewage disposal rates. Be it ordered by the Charter Township of Ypsilanti that Section 62-77, Chapter 62, Article 4 of the Code of Ordinance be revised as follows. All billings rendered prior to September 1st, 2024, existing sewer disposal service rates shall prevail. For all billings rendered on or after September 1st, 2024, charges for sewer disposal services shall be as followed for each bi-monthly or 2-month period. There's a readiness to serve rates based on meter size. Meter size by inches is 5/8 to 3/4, $18.54. 1 inch, $64.34. 1 to 1.5 is $92.68. 2 inches is $148.29. 3 inches is $463.39. 4 inches, $926.78. 6 inches is $1,853.55. 8-inch meter is $3,243.71. 10 inches, $5,097.26. 12-inch meter is $6,024.04. There's a commodity rate of $3.05 per 100 cubic feet. I would so move first reading of ordinance 2024-508.
Support Peterson.
Motion Rose, support Peterson.
Thank you
Sorry.
again. Thank you again. So this is the other piece of your water bill. This is the sewer piece where the authority is proposing a 2% increase on the sewer rate, which was also approved by the YCA Board of Commissioners on June 26th. This is the piece that is disconnected from the GLWA rate. YCA does own and operate its own regional wastewater treatment plant, so these costs are really borne out of the operation of that wastewater treatment plant. When I mentioned earlier about the $1.5 million increase in total budget expenditures, that does include, I should clarify, that includes the entire YCA operation, water and sewer. Increases that we see more from the sewer side would be utilities such as natural gas. Natural gas is a major, we run our fluid bed incinerator or the solids disposal system at the wastewater treatment plant off of natural gas, and we're definitely seeing the commodity rates for natural gas go up this year, and we anticipate, almost $400,000 of increases just in natural gas increase costs. Parts and equipment, electrical equipment at the treatment plant, along with another major project this year will be every 3 to 5 years, we excavate the ash lagoon at the wastewater treatment plant, and that's approximately $170,000 in costs. Other costs that we're seeing hit the budget this year is there is still certain components from the original wastewater treatment plant from 1978 that were never addressed during the plant expansion project back in the 2000s. So we have certain equipment that is from 1978 that is past its useful life. For example, our primary clarifiers and some of our electrical switchgear, they're aging, they're over 50 years old. It's mechanical equipment that is very difficult to replace and just needs to be, or repaired, needs to be replaced. Similar projects, as I mentioned, the Headworks odor control project, various booster pump station projects that are moving forward, that it's on the wastewater side. When we talk about a water and sewer bill, we indicated earlier there was a 3.07% increase on the water rate, a 2% increase on the sewer rate. That has a combined effect on an average user's bill of about 2.5% increase, or $2.65, which was the typo in the cover letter. Again, my apologies for that. For a township customer, we typically look at 10 units of usage on a bi-monthly bill. This would place their bill now at $105.75, or an increase of $2.65 per bill, or about $1.32 every month of an increase. And I welcome any questions.
Questions or comment? Trustee Newman?
Madam Chair, I would like to know the sizes given previously in the previous slides. How does that relate to the typical customer? In other words, when I'm reading my water bill, instead of just reading the price, what am I looking for? Am I looking for measurements or sewer line numbers or?
So these are the different, those meter sizes are tied to what we call a readiness to serve charge. So the larger the meter, the larger the readiness to serve or fixed charge that is applied to the bill. So there's a RTS charge, we call it, on the water side and sewer side.
Okay.
If you're served, most residential properties, all pretty much residential properties are served by a 5/8 inch meter. So you would be, the lowest charge on that sheet would be what most, all homeowners are basically charged. And they're charged that fixed rate, which is basically fixed costs that go into that calculation, bond payments, those type of things, asset costs. Costs that go into the commodity rate would be more electrical costs or chemical costs that are more variable O&M type expenses that fall into the commodity rate and how that is constructed.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Yes. Trustee Swenson?
So we have some programs that help residents who have difficulty paying their bills.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I must have turned it off. Sorry about that. Can you hear me, Ms. Kaiser? Okay, I'll lean in. So we have programs that help residents that have difficulty paying their bill. When we do an increase like this,
Yes.
does it factor into the amount that we have to support people in paying their bills? So if we have a program and we have an increase, does the amount that will help people also increase?
Yes and no. The way most of those programs work, so there's, for township customers, there's essentially 3 programs. The large one would be the Water Residential Assistance Program through Great Lakes Water Authority. Another program through Washtenaw County would be the Low Income Housing Assistance Program, LIHAP. The third program would be a subsidy that the township actually provides. I believe it's $40 for eligible customers. I'm not as familiar with the subsidy and how that's determined at the township level. I do know the RAP and LIHAP programs are based upon income levels. So they fill out an application with those agencies, and based upon their income levels, they qualify for assistance on their water bill. Sometimes that covers their entire water bill. So in those situations, yes, that cost, so if there's an increase from the water and sewer department, then that assistance would be provided on the larger amount of the water and sewer bill. I do regret to kind of notify the board, I don't have all the details, but I've heard have gotten some information that just the amount of funding that's available in those programs, LIHAP and RAP, is limited. So I'm not sure how many new customers are eligible for those programs. That's becoming difficult. There's funding in place for customers that are receiving that assistance now, and I've been told that assistance will continue. But new customers that would come to those programs, I don't know what that funding looks like in the future.
So follow-up question then, it sounds like, so is our amount that we pay as a township a flat rate? So that 59, did you say 49?
40.
So is it a flat amount that we pay? So we don't have a mechanism for determining that if we do an increase, if there's an increase at Yucca, that our rate increases. Would that be fair to say?
Last year, we increased from 20 to 40.
Okay,
So that was,
okay. So maybe
that absorbed.
going forward, we need to think about, as rates increase, is there some way of us looking at, as it increases, well, that we look at that stipend or take a look at it? But I appreciate that we increased it by $20.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if I could, Trustee Swanson, there's just a lot of discussion that I'm aware of now going on in the Michigan legislature regarding subsidy programs. So I think as the RAP program, which is available to most water customers in Metro Detroit area, it definitely impacts a lot of water paying customers. If that funding is hindered, I do believe a lot of the discussion going on in the Michigan legislature hopefully leads to something, some type of more robust program. If RAP becomes a much more limited than it is right now, than it has been. This is new information that we've never received before. Typically, we try to sign up as many customers for RAP as we can. We have an administrative staff member at the authority that is phenomenal at working with. Whenever a customer has trouble paying, they get turned over to her. She tries to work with them and tries to get them to fill out these applications. So this is concerning information that has just come to us in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so. So hopefully that funding is put in place so RAP does it's still made available to new customers, or something else takes its place.
Perhaps we need to meet with our legislators to get an update on that.
Yep. It's
Since
something
it's a
that's
state funding.
on my list to follow up on,
Yeah.
to see where that sits.
Well, we'll be happy to meet with you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3 is a
Thank you.
request. Thank you, Lou. Request authorization for the sale of township-owned property at 475 Green Lawn for $7,680 to Marie Good.
So move.
Motion Rowe,
Support.
support Eldridge. Discussion or comment? Mr. Winters?
It's actually 6,000, I think, you may have said 600, it's $6,680.
Oh, thank you.
Brian, you can go ahead and start.
Brian McCleary, Deputy Assessor. Hello? Brian McCleary, Deputy Assessor. So Assessor's Office is requesting approval for finalizing of the sale to Mrs. Good of the 2 lots. She's the homeowner of the adjacent parcels. The sale price is $7,680. And basically, she's agreed that she'll combine the lots with her home, and she's not going to develop or build anything on those lots without the board permission.
Any questions or comments for Brian? Thank you for that clarification on the sale of the lot. I don't know if the purchaser is here. Is she? Nope. All right. Oftentimes there's side lots near homeowners, and there's a process that people go through to purchase lots from the township. So this was one of many that we have done in the past. We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is a request authorization for the township attorney and assessor to proceed with the negotiations of the sale of the township property at 1293 Holmes.
So move.
Motion Rowe,
Support Peterson.
support Peterson. So this will come back to the board for approval. Questions or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? Motion carries. Number 5 is a request authorization to accept the updated agreement with T-SNAP for the Green Oaks Golf Course tee sheet and point of sale operations.
So move.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Eldridge. Mr. Hind, or who's going to?
Good evening, Kirk
Mr.
Sherwood, Green Oaks Golf Course, Director of Golf. Looking to change the current contract with T-SNAP, which is our point-of-sale software system. The current agreement has us trading times in exchange for the system. After calculating numbers, it would be to our benefit to pay them a flat fee per year, which will result in us getting 240 tee times worth of players back per month. By my calculation, roughly 2.5, 3 months out of the 7-month season, we should cover the fee that we're paying them.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Hines?
I did want to add, John Hines, Municipal Services Director. What I just handed to each of you is actually some reports that Kirk put together just to kind of illustrate the benefit to switching to this cash-only payment. Though it will be an $11,000 payment to TSNAP each year, the amount of savings that we will be able to incur due to this and revenue that will be profited instead is a big benefit to the golf course. And, Kirk did a great job explaining to me, basically with our current agreement, and if I do cover something went over, Kirk, I apologize, but with our current agreement, they get 2 tee times up to 8 players per day, and not only does it, of course, give them that revenue from those tee times, but also creates gaps in being able to make tee times, so we have to schedule around it, and if they do not show, there's rain checks that are given, so then more revenue could be lost. So what you have right now is the numbers that Kirk put together for the month of June, just to show that with the revenue that T-Pay received from their tee times just for that singular month was $6,000. So June was a really good golf revenue month for the golf course, but if you extrapolate that with May, April, July, August, September, and October, the other months of the year, not including, April and March and November, where we'll get some tee times, the revenue that they will get is closer to around $40,000, $35,000 to $40,000. So by paying them $11,000, that difference in revenue, the golf course will get to receive, and there will also be the added benefit of complete control of their tee sheet.
Questions or comments from board? I just want to say, you, Kirk, and Will are doing an excellent job. I mean, I know the revenue is up about 100,000 to date, but people are loving the course and nothing but positive things to say, and thank you for that.
Thank you. The staff has been working hard. The golf course is probably in about the best shape it's ever been in based on the comments I'm getting from people. Will's staff, my staff, everybody's done a great job over at the golf course. So we're fortunate to have Will in place, and his staff is doing a great job as well as mine. So we're happy to be moving forward, and things are going well. And I just happened to come across this as I was looking at numbers and talked with TSNAP.
Great, thank you. We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the request to approve the 2024-2025 contract with Washtenaw Community College for building use at the Township Community Center. Motion Rowe.
Support.
Support Eldridge. Mr. Hines.
John Hines, again, Municipal Service Director. So the request before you is from the Recreation Department to approve the 2024 agreement with Washtenaw Community College to utilize rooms 301, 303, and 305 in the community center for the agreed upon price of $30,000, which is what they did last year for the same space. So WCC has been a great partner with the addition of using the 2 extra rooms or 1.5 extra rooms for the time that they asked for. They've been able to grow their program and seen their numbers about double, and they've also been able to bring back the English as a second language program.
Questions or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Number 7 is a request for authorization for circuit court litigation to abate public nuisance properties at 8061 Merritt, 541 Woodlawn, 922 North River, and 974 North Prospect.
So move.
Motion Rowe.
Support.
Support Eldridge. Do you want to go through? I know Bob is also here, but Mr. Winters, do you want to go through them?
Bob, if you want to start, I'll try to finish up. If you want me to go first, that's okay too.
Good evening. What you see before you is cases that the ordinance officers have been working on. At this time, we've tried to get compliance with the property owners, and we're just not getting any compliance. We feel that this next step right now will help expedite the problems that we're having in the township right now.
Okay.
What I would add to the board's consideration is that in each of these properties, at least 3 of the 4, they've actually, the ordinance department has really extended a lengthy period of time to bring these properties into compliance. The property on Merritt Road is a vacant property that's been turned into some type of a logging operation where they're either bringing logs in, they're wood chipping, they're stockpiling. It's quite a mess out there. And again, there's been an effort going back over at least a year. I think Stan has mentioned it before too, in regards to the operation is totally illegal. And property owners are not going to stop without some type of court action. So that's the 8061 Merritt. The property at Woodlawn, I know it's been said many times by this board that your home is normally your biggest investment that you're going to have in your lifetime. And the neighbors at 541 Woodlawn have had to endure, in my opinion, way too long, a house that's created a public nuisance on a variety of levels. They've utilized their property to operate a car repair operation in the driveway. The complaints that have been received have reached a point where one of the neighbors has actually sold their house and moved away because of the ongoing disturbances. Nobody should have to move out of their subdivision or out of their home to get away from property that's been mismanaged by the property owner. This is a rental property where the property owner lives in Munith. I did have occasion to check the address in Munith as to where the owners live, and it's a very nice, quiet, idyllic setting compared to what they're allowing to occur at 541 Woodlawn. Again, this has been one that the Office of Community Standards has reached out on many occasions to try and obtain voluntary compliance. That's not going to occur. So again, litigation is the next step. In regards to 922 North River Street, this property is one that is vacant. It creates an attractive nuisance. The property owner is deceased, and no one has come forward to open the estate for this property to be probated. Continues to create a number of issues for the neighboring properties, including the rodent issue and other issues that occur when no one is maintaining the property. And we've done everything we can to try and locate the next heir that might come forward to take responsibility. And so at this point, we'll have no choice but to go to circuit court or probate court to have this estate open, so as to allow the court to have jurisdiction over this property. There's a lot of talk about affordable housing and throughout southeastern Michigan and the city, the township, and when you have properties that could be rehabilitated and utilized as single-family homes, that's our goal. And it's not good for any house to sit there unoccupied and to allow it to become almost demolition by neglect. And that leads into the next one, which is 974 North Prospect. I'm not sure how long this property owner expects to have this property remain in this condition. We received a number of phone calls from many people who live on the Prospect Road corridor. This property was struck or damaged by a storm over a year ago, and everybody understands that sometimes you need patience to allow the insurance and the homeowners to work this out. This property is vacant. I've talked to the attorney for the property owner, and there's nothing that I can glean from our conversations that leads me to believe that anything is going to be done anytime soon. In the meantime, it continues to create a public nuisance for all the reasons set forth in the memorandum prepared by Director Kingsley. And given the length of time that this has existed, the next step would be to go to circuit court to achieve compliance. So those are the four before you this evening. Again, these have been going on for over a year in most cases, and in some cases maybe too long because of the impact it's having upon the neighbors.
Other questions or comments? Yes.
So I'm not sure who can answer it for me, but I know that one of the problems we have is that when there's property that gets to the state, vermin are usually present. So how does that factor into when we go to court, making sure that, like, So what happens from a few residents that have talked to me about living near a home where we've gone to court is that the vermin, when they're feeding in that place, and I'm not suggesting that's good, when it cleans up, they disperse. And then problems happen problems are already happening usually, but it gets worse. It gets better on the property that we force to be cleaned up, but it gets worse for the neighbors that are surrounding because if it's vacant, there's no longer a feeding source, and then they move off into other people's property. And in some cases, they're left to kind of handle that, and that doesn't seem reasonable to me when that didn't start there. So when we go to court, do we have a process for knowing and checking, are there vermin present? And then how do we handle that part as it gets, because it needs to be cleaned up, but we don't want to push that problem onto other homeowners. That doesn't seem like the kind of work that we want it cleaned up, but we also don't want to move the problem to other people. So can you help us understand, or help me understand what happens in that situation?
When we usually get to a situation, the ordinance gets involved, the ordinance officers will inspect the property. They believe that there's a rodent problem, vermin, such as that. We do have a contract with Orkin. Belinda Kingsley is in contact with them. She will request their representative to go out there to evaluate the property. And if they see that there is an issue, then from that home right there, that's what they consider their base, and they will move it out, the further out from the house to see at what point does it stop. Then they start addressing the problems with that. But it's not a quick process, but it is a process.
So when that cost is incurred, I think what happens is that's part of the court case. The cost for Orkin goes to the person who we're going to court with, or that individual. I think what happens is people get frustrated because in court, the things that court requires, the cleanup, doesn't always extend for a longer period of time for the cleanup. So I think that's where people get frustrated, and I understand that frustration. So at what point are we allowed to say, there has to be an extension beyond, because once that problem happens, it is very hard to get rid of it. And then it's hard to leave people with, so I know, like I've seen a couple other ones where the bill comes in and then people are itching to get that bill taken care of, but then there's still homeowners who are experiencing the problem from the initial thing. So do we have any authority to say after a certain amount of time, or it has to be continued for a certain amount of time, do we have any ability to do that? Maybe this is a legal question.
Well, in the past, what we've done is by the time the court case actually concludes, we have a pretty good idea just how many homes may be affected by the rodents, so that the case is normally not going to be concluded until we have some assurances from Orkin that their problem has been resolved by the property that caused the problem and those that have been impacted by it as well. And so we hate to close it. The court normally always reserves jurisdiction to go back, but we would rather go ahead and make sure that the problem is resolved before we close the case out. And so, and sometimes during the process of the court case, House A that caused the problem may be causing problems at House B, and then during the litigation, it may turn out that it's now affecting House number C. And so it can go maybe 6, 7, 8 houses before we finally get our arms around as to what actually is the extent of the problem. The key is going to be on some of these properties is that I know that the township has been very considerate and very understanding in most situations, but from my standpoint, and where I think my law partner sits, Denny, the sooner we act on these properties, the better, because a lot of times when you see properties that have been in this state of deterioration, they're not going to get better on their own, and the homeowners many times are just not going to do the right thing. And so I think the ordinance department does a tremendous job. They have a lot of properties that come their way, and many times these come to our attention, or it comes to their attention by neighborhood watch groups, citizen complaints, And at the same time, we try and obtain voluntary compliance because people sometimes have legitimate reasons why they cannot respond quickly. But the ones we have right now before you are the ones that have been given. I think they've been given plenty of time to correct. But your question goes along the lines as to how large that envelope should be for those that are impacted. And I think it was one house on Debbie Court that may have affected about 8, 9, 10 homes before we finally got that issue resolved. And so our position is that the homeowner is causing, or the property owner is causing the problem, is the one that pays the Orkin bill. And that's what we will continue to do. And we've had a strong circuit court bench over the years that has supported our position on these type of cases. So I don't know how extensive this case may be until we get someone out there to look. But we have one in Kansas that was also causing a lot of problems off-site of the house that was causing the problems to begin with. And again, and Orkin does a great job too. They really do a great job in identifying the sources. And Pat City was another one that we had over in court that was affecting the neighbors. So I can probably go down the line of how many property owners have been impacted by the rodent. Township spends, I think we spend $200,000 or $300,000 per year right now trying to address that issue. We did everything when the Gulf Village was demolished. We took all those extra precautions to make sure that nothing was going to occur in the Gulf Village neighborhood. I think we were very successful in achieving that goal. So it's always on the forefront of both Bob and Belinda's minds when we have these kind of cases, and whatever we can do to make sure the court becomes aware as to the extent of the problem. We'll make sure the homeowner is not out of pocket for having to incur that cost, but at the same time make sure that the problem goes away and doesn't just kind of reappear.
She has a question.
Hi, Sharon.
Hello. Sharon Lee. I live in the township. Once you acquire these houses, are you selling them or keeping them and renting them out? What are you going to do with these houses?
We're not acquiring these properties. These are properties that are owned by private individuals. We're still going to go to court and hold those property owners liable for maintaining their properties. So we're not purchasing these properties.
Okay. But I thought you said you couldn't get a hold of these. I thought you said you can't get a hold of these homeowners.
Well, the one property owner is deceased. But there's someone out there who's an heir. We don't know who the heir is. And so sometimes once it goes into the court will appoint a public administrator, and they will go out and search and find the next of kin. So we're not acquiring the properties. We're not purchasing the properties.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good question. Any other questions or comment? So we have a motion in support to approve the request for authorization for circuit court litigation, if necessary, to abate the public nuisances. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 8 is a resolution 2024-10, which is authorizing a charitable gaming license to John E. Lawrence Entertainment that goes to the state of Michigan.
I have Resolution 2024-10, resolution for charitable gaming license for Johnny Lawrence Entertainment, whereas this local governing body resolution for charitable gaming license is for the John E. Lawrence Entertainment to conduct a 50-50 raffle, and whereas the Charter Township of Ypsilanti Board of Trustees has approved John E. Lawrence Entertainment's request for a 50-50 raffle as indicated above, and whereas the approval is required by MCL 432.103K2, and now therefore it be resolved that the Township of Ypsilanti Board of Trustees designates and agrees that Johnny Lawrence be the authorized official designee in this instance when application is made to the State of Michigan Gaming Control Board for this charitable gaming license. I would so move the resolution.
Support Peterson.
Motion Rowe, support Peterson. Mr. Lawrence?
I want to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be here. The Johnny Lawrence Summer Jazz Series is taking off and it's becoming a worldwide jazz series now. And one of the things that we have to do is we continue to bring in more national recording artists each year. And that cost keeps rising. But my goal is to keep making it better every year. And so this is one of the ways we can help offset that cost.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Mr. Lawrence? I just want to say thank you for bringing it to our community and the joy it brings so many residents at a low, affordable cost for parking, for a carload, and it's amazing to just volunteer and be part of it, and thank you.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank the board for helping out every year. It means a lot. It really couldn't happen without your help.
We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is budget amendment number 9. Clerk Rowe.
I would move to increase the general fund budget by $7,734 to $27,034,260 and approve the line item changes as outlined. Move to increase the fire fund budget by $15,818 to $5,241,952 and approve the department line item changes as outlined. Move to increase the recreation fund budget by $6,000 to $926,895 and approve the line item changes as outlined. And move to increase the golf fund budget by $11,000 to $957,388 and approve the line item changes as outlined. I would so move budget amendment number 9.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Eldridge. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under authorization and bids, we have to correct a few numbers. Under number 1, the request to authorize BAR Engineering to perform required studies at the hydro dam, which is budgeted, and it is part of the ARPA project, is $250,000. We need a motion?
So moved.
So move.
Motion Rowe,
Support.
support Eldridge. And this is just to proceed with the BAR Engineering and perform the studies on our hydro dam, which does produce electricity.
Thank you. Mike Sarnon, Operations Manager. In front of you is a request to start redoing some studies that were done years ago that don't really follow today's standards, and some new components related to the new changes that the FERC has put on the licensees of dams. We are in the process of trying to get an independent consultant. In 2025, we're supposed to have our 5-year inspection done under the new guideline. So unfortunately, all the changes has also put a lot of extra demand on the firms. So we're actually having trouble trying to secure a consultant for next year. So part of this process, if we can get these studies done ahead of time, it should make for our Part 12 inspection a little bit smoother, because some of that review should all be done. So that's what's in front of you in that request tonight.
All right, questions or comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to approve Ballard Marine construction for the sluice gate inspection project for the hydro dam in the amount of $50,000.
So move.
Motion Rowe,
Support.
support Eldridge. Did I say 15,000? I meant 15,000, I apologize.
Again, this one here, we have a contract with Ballard to do the gate inspections, which they have started. They just put in bulkhead number 2 in the sluice gate 2. And part of this request is in our original contract, we didn't put any contingency funds if things come up along the way that were outside the scope of work. Since signing the contract, there's a few things that I planned on doing internally, but I can't due to safety reasons. So with their equipment already on site, I thought this would be a perfect way to kind of clean up my workload, since I can't do it without doing a bunch of safety improvements that are probably going to be way more costly than just having a change order with Ballard. So they installed some signs that are on the face of the dam that have to be changed out with the new print and logos. So those are already, we already have those. It's a matter of just getting them up there and swapping them out. So that would be one of the items that we would use this contingency funds for.
All right. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 3 is a request authorized to accept the low quote for $421,553 from Heaney Construction, Heaney General Contracting for the sanitary and sewer line site work at Ford Heritage Park and the restroom demolition site work and pavilion installation at Lakeside Park. And these are ARPA funds.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Just a friendly amendment. I apologize. I think our memos and communication that just like to change that number to 442,600 with the contingency. And if that's a friendly amendment to all, I would so move the resolution or the motion.
Motion Rowe.
Support.
Support Eldridge.
Good evening, John Hines, Municipal Service Director. And joining me is actually Phil Westmoreland, who is a principal at Spicer Group. He is working with us since our previous project manager has left the company, so he's here to answer any questions you might have. But we are requesting authorization to accept the low quote, $421,553 from Heaney General Contracting, and also for the 5% contingency, which does bring the total to $442,000.06. This is ARPA funded and would be broken down for $223,425.06 for the sanitary and water line site work at Ford Heritage Park, and $198,000, $127.94 for the site work and pavilion installation and restroom demolition at Lakeside Park. If this were to be approved tonight, this would, with everything kind of going in line with the construction schedule, the goal would be to install both of the board approved prefabricated bathroom structures at each park this fall. Currently, those are scheduled to be delivered in September. It is a tight schedule, but it is possible. There is also a request that due to the price quoted for Lakeside Park repairs being over the budgeted amount, we are requesting a line item transfer from the ARPA line that was budgeted to the community center ballpark field lights to cover the shortfall in construction and construction engineering. We did open bids on July 29th. We had 3 bids for the project, and Heaney was the low quote, and I know Spicer Group did mention that they've had previous knowledge or experience with working with them.
Questions or comment? Has our attorney had the opportunity to review the contract?
I reviewed the material that's in the packet, and I think I've been in discussion with John about all these projects, and I think we have a master chart board up there trying to keep track of all the different. But I'm assuming that if the board approves this right now, that Spicer will follow through and forward the copies of the contracts with the insurance certificates and all the bonds. That seems to be the hiccup of late, getting the contracts actually signed once they've been approved. So I think everything has been done properly with the bidding, just now making sure we execute the contracts and see those bonds and liability insurance before they are given the notice to proceed.
All right, questions or comment? Trustee Swan.
So John, can you explain when we do the line item moving it from one project to another, what does that mean to the ballpark lights?
It would mean that the ballpark lights would be, I would say, the funds would be moved from that line. It would not make it possible to do the ball field lights, unfortunately, at this time. Just due to the projections for the projects and then the actual bids that have came in, some have been lower, as will be mentioned in the next kind of approval request, but others have been larger, and that's why the request came in.
Other questions or comments?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I just wanted to say that both for this bid and the ones next on the agenda, I'm just really excited to see that there have actually been great bids. They're reasonable, all within a good ballpark. In the past, we've had difficulty getting actual competitive bids, so I'm glad to see a change in that. And thank you, John, for your help on all the things.
I'm also, this one sanitary and water line is for Fort Heritage Park, which is where they do a lot of the soccer fields and youth baseball games. And they have no bathrooms there. We use porta potties, and I know that the residents who attend all these these events with their kids will be happy to see a permanent structure.
Madam Chair, is there a plan for next year for the ballpark lights?
It's something that we can definitely bring up as part of the budget process. You know, I myself, as being a former sports coordinator for the township, know how much the fields are used and, what a benefit it would be to have lights there. It's just with the prices that we've seen with those are also above what we had projected from the quotes that were received at this point 4 years ago. We first got, I think, the original quote for that back in 2020 before putting the numbers together for the kind of ARPA budget process. And then when actual numbers were coming in from companies, it was about not a quarter, but about a 15% markup at that point. So at that point, that was last year. They've gone even higher now. And again, with all these projects happening at once, it's not a request that's easy to make, easy to put in here to make, but just to be able to keep these ones moving forward, it was what seemed to hopefully align with what the township's goals would be to get these completed. Because unfortunately, I will have to also mention that in the next one as well. But as we just said, I feel like, unfortunately, I say at every meeting, it's just the volatility in bid pricing is just kind of up or down depending on what the request is.
And we have to be under contract with ARPA funds by December of this year.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so that's another, and we can also apply for grants. We talked about that for the ball dive.
For the ball field lights and paving over there.
Yeah. All right, so we have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is a request authorization to accept the low quote of $582,600 from KAB Enterprises for the repairs of Burns Park Walkway and the playground repairs and West Willow Park Walkway and the playground replacement. This is a ARPA-funded.
So move.
Support.
We have a motion, Rowe, support Eldridge.
So good evening. John Hines, Municipal Service Director. This is a request to accept the low quote from KAB Enterprises for $554,810.50, but the request would be kind of like the last with the 5% contingency request, which brings the total request to $582,600. This is ARPA funded. It would be broken down for $398,805.92 for the replacement of the walkway, playground equipment, and playground surface at West Willow Park. And for, $100,056, $156,000 and $4.58 for Burns Park for the renovation of the walkway and the playground surface replacement at that park. Due to the price quoted for West Willow Park, we would be asking for a line item transfer from the budgeted community center ballpark lights to cover the shortfall for this one as well. Much like the last line, West Willow Park, with what was originally budgeted, the quote for this came in higher because it does not include the construction administration and the shelter work that's already taken place at the park. So we would need to cover that with the line item transfer. Burns Park, though, currently, even with the construction engineering and the contract administration, is below budget, though, at this time.
Madam Chair. So John, tell me again, you're talking, and I'm glad you combined them together because I think we had an issue last time about that. Is that correct? Long time ago. So anyway, John, with 300 and some $1,000 with West Willow, what else do we have to make up for? Because you said that's not the complete package. What is the other part of the budget for this that we would have to make up for?
So this would also to be able to work with the funds that remain that have not been spent for engineering, contract preparation, and the site work would need the line item transfer for the ball field lights. Originally, I believe it was $350,000 that was allocated for the park, but we have spent a portion of that for the shelter work that's already taken place. So this would finish all the remaining requirements, which is quite a big project, and include of paving the walkway instead of just replacing it with limestone.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Hi, I have a question. A couple of questions. Burns Park, where is that located? It says Burns Park Walkway. Where is Burns Park located?
Burns Park is, I would say, the west part of the township, kind of by Ypsilanti High School. You have Clubview on one side of the neighborhood, and then Burns Park is actually on the other side. So it's in between two streets. It's a neighborhood park.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then I have, didn't West Willow get a grant for their park? Didn't they get some kind of grant? We got a grant for that, didn't we? Yeah, they got a grant.
The ARPA grant, we're using ARPA dollars, American Rescue Plan Act. That's a grant.
Okay, to fix, was that to do what you're trying to do, including West Willow in that?
Yeah, it was allocated for West Willow, Burns Park.
Is that what we're talking about, the grant that was given?
ARPA, yeah. I think that's the only grant I'm aware of. I'm not aware of another grant list.
Well, I know I went to a meeting or two, and I don't know if it was through Habitat. They were asking us what we wanted done and blah,
Yeah.
blah. That's the grant?
Yeah.
And is that the money he's talking about, or is this
Yes.
some separate money?
Yes. This
Okay.
is all the meetings with the residents and.
Right.
and we bid it out, and this was awarding the bid to do that project from ARPA funds.
Oh, okay. And I know you're going with the lowest quote, but are you going with a good person or a company that's
I will say
Good
that,
work.
we've worked with Decima. They're actually currently doing our community center renovations, and they have been a good company to work with. But KAB Enterprises specializes in playgrounds, unlike Decima. Decima's more of a general contractor, and again, they are doing a good job and been great communicators, but KAB, they actually specialize in the type of work they're looking to get done.
Okay. I have one more question. West Willow, it's the freeway run through there, and they got that big brick wall, Mary Catherine or whatnot. Who's responsible for getting the brush or the trees or whatever that's growing up on there?
That's MDOT property.
So
And so we can, our state rep or state senator, but we can send an email and
okay,
let them know.
well, I'm asking for my neighbor. She wanna know.
Yeah.
She wants to know about it. Stuff is overgrowing
Yep.
on there. And,
Yep, that's MDOT property.
MDOT. Okay.
And we can,
They do.
Was this, just to ask, was this brought up at the most recent Neighborhood Watch meeting? Is it by,
Oh, I don't.
Okay.
Were you at the neighborhood watch meeting? I wasn't there.
so our Neighborhood Watch coordinator, Julianne, she sent an email about, I believe, the sound wall, but I want to confirm that it's the same address, because we were looking into that, and happy to confirm and clarify that if it was.
That and the school lot too.
The school lot?
Yeah, the school lot, because they turn around bringing mattresses over there and having sex in the parking lot over there. And I just wanted to bring it to somebody's attention, because that and the wall, all up there, all the debris and stuff is hanging over, and that's where over in the school lot over there. There's nothing being done with it.
Okay. Well, I'll follow up with MDOT to see what his response, or see what their response will be on that, and then send the other part to the ordinance department.
and Julianne, she did follow up on it.
Yes, she did. She sent that after the meeting, so she forwarded it to me, and I reached out to MDOT, and I know they were looking into the property ownership and just getting clarification on that.
It was, a girl from Albania got it.
So Okay, we're talking about the park improvements. We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 5 is a request authorization to accept the low quote for $218,000 from Innovista LCC for the playground resurfacing project at Fort Heritage, and this is also ARPA funds.
So move.
Motion Rowe. Support Eldridge.
John Hines, Municipal Service Director. So we are requesting to award the low quote to Innovista LLC for $207,530 for the Fort Heritage Park Playground Resurfacing Project. We are asking that the 5% contingency be awarded as well, which brings the total to $218,000. We opened bids for this project on July 9th, and we received 4 bids. We are requesting Innovista's bid, which was the second lowest. Decima was the lowest for this project, but they have since, after further questioning by Spicer Group, withdrawn their bid. Due to the price disparity, you can see that Innovista, Pincher, and Game Time, which are 3 playground-specific companies, were much more in line and competitive than Decima's, which was incredibly low. It's understandable that they withdrew once they found out that the bids had been opened. We are requesting, Innovista's base bid was for $138,000, $224 to award the alternate, which was part of this project, which is $207,530. And the alternate for that is removing the current poured-in-place surface and the fiber mulch and replacing all with poured-in-place surface. So there won't be any more fiber mulch at the park, so it'll be completely accessible park now that anyone with any accessibility issues can get to all parts of the park, and we will not have the consistent maintenance issue with the fiber mulch at the playground. Due to the price for Innovista to do the alternate, we would need to do a line item transfer, but we would actually be taking this one, if approved, from the Fort Heritage Park bathroom project. The price with going with 2 restrooms to start with that project and the site work and construction admin for that still keeps us well below the budget line that would allow that transfer to then be benefit to still the same park, but now for the playground improvement.
Questions or comments? Trustee Swanson?
So John, can you explain, what's the time frame how long will the poured in place last? What's the warranty on it? How long does it last?
Because I'll say I know that the poured-in-place we have out there right now is over 20 years old, and for the most part, besides the edges where it's coming in, it's in good shape except for where we've had to spot replace under the swings and in the high-impact spots. So I'd say rough number, 80% of it has lasted 20-plus years, but the high-impact spots have had to have patching.
And the area that is the wood chips, is that under swings? What's that under?
It's under swings, and it's also in between the walkway and the poured-in-place. It's done very decoratively. Again, it does look very nice, but yeah, this would now be, again, the poured-in-place underneath all the swings, not just some of the swings.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that because poured in place, if you can do poured in place, that's usually preferred. My concern is maybe they ran out. I'm not sure why some was not done with poured in place. And then I'd be concerned, what if the wear is going to be more in the areas under swings, and then the warranty or what gets fixed or what gets taken care of over time? Because if you're going to spend this money as an investment, which I think is the right thing to do, because this park was designed to be fully accessible wheelchairs. That was the whole purpose of this park when it was built. I just want to make sure that it lasts and that we're making really good decisions about that part. And then 20 years, I guess I can't encourage this current board, but I would think that, sorry, everybody, but I would think that we have to have a plan for, how we organize for things that have to happen in that way. Because when you do an investment like this, and any of the investments that we're doing, we have to plan forward, because you don't want to be 20 years, 15 years down the road and then say, well, we're just going to rip it all up. We have to be thinking about that. And even in some cases, where else could we do poured in place? So anyway, I'd be interested in knowing like what exactly our warranties or whatever is going to be for this, because it is a big investment in a playground that we don't typically do poured in place because it's very expensive.
Yeah, and I'll look through the bid documents to see what exactly they list as the warranty and send an update to the board after the meeting.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, if we do approve it, John, when will it be done? Will it be done, will it be done before summer's over, or you're looking at next year?
The goal would be, unless there's any sort of supply issue, which they've not made aware, and you're going, Phil or Cindy from Spicer has not made aware, the goal would be to do it this year. You know, ideally, it all comes in conjunction with when we're doing the bathroom. I mean, in a perfect world, I think it's all ready to go for fall sports in the park.
Great, that's what I want to hear. Thank you.
Good question. We have a
All right, Madam Chair, I just want to clarify, John, something. You were saying that it's going to be a line item transfer from the restroom, which I am a little more hesitant about that because it seems to me that we're not doing the ballparks, right? But we've already approved that we're doing the bathroom, so I don't want to like borrow from a bank that we've already designated to do work that I know we have a quote and we've agreed to move forward with it. I'm just worried about, you know, like needing a change order and then later down the road needing to borrow more money from a different, but my clarification is we're not changing anything that we approved about the bathrooms previously.
Not at all, no. There's the levels, I showed Brenda my spreadsheet, and I talked to Doug about it in the project meeting, but the level of just differences, this is much easier to do and would not make up the difference for the ball field lights, unfortunately.
Okay, yeah, and fine about the ball fields.
And that's why we're adding the contingency.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't changing a project we're already underway in.
Yeah, and I'm going to knock on wood here, but, you know, the whole point of adding the 5% contingency was hopefully to alleviate any of that need later, because when it comes to the playground resurfacing, again, that should be a very cut and dry job. The site work potentially could need more, but we didn't take everything out of there. We left enough that if we had to come back, that it's still there as well.
Thank you.
Did you want to say something, sir? No. Okay. We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The final item under authorization and bids is request authorization to approve Spicer Group to provide construction inspection and administration related to the Burns Park, Ford Heritage Park restrooms, Lakeside Park, and West Willow Park for $94,000.
So move, Peterson.
Support.
Motion Peterson, support Rowe.
Good evening, John
Any
Hines,
questions?
Municipal Service Director. So yeah, this is bringing forward Spicer Group for the construction admin for the 5 projects that were brought forward tonight, which is the Burns Park pathway and playground renovation, Fort Heritage Park restroom site work, Fort Heritage Park playground resurfacing, Lakeside Park restroom, and West Willow Park path and playground replacement. If there's any further questions, happy to answer them, but the totals are listed, and this would be everything remaining for those projects, despite any change orders needing to come forward, which hopefully will not be the case.
And did I say they're ARPA?
Yep, these are all budgeted in the ARPA funds and were kept in consideration when it came with the request and the earlier approvals.
Questions or comments?
You or Mr. Westmoreland, but I see the totals. Can we just get that broken down even better, and you can give it to us later on the number of hours and the cost per hour? Thank you.
That's not to exceed $94,000, right? We have a motion support. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
There's no other business under public comments. You have 3 minutes. Just give your name, or if you're a township resident.
My name is Arloa Kaiser. I'm a resident of the township, and I want to thank the Township Board for supporting the Rosie the Riveter Craft Show, which it's either the second or third year, I've forgotten exactly, but this supports the ones and says thank you to the women who worked at the bomber plant during World War II, because all of our men were off to war, and it brought women into not only just this, but into the general workforce. And I want to thank you for supporting us.
Thank you, Ms. Kaiser.
Hello, it's me again, Sharon Lee. Okay, I want to thank the board for trimming the trees on Tyler Road. It's wonderful. You can see now when you go to turn onto Tyler Road. Thank you very much for getting that done. Also, thank you for giving me the information about the garbage can lids. I did tell my neighbors, so hopefully they will get that repaired. And thank you for contacting Waste Management. They were on it, and they got the yard waste the same day they got the garbage, so we have no problems with that. Now, unfortunately, the fence on the service drive still haven't been repaired right. It still looks horrible. So if you can get someone to fix that right, I will appreciate it.
Thank you.
Because it still looks a mess. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
Yes, I'm a resident. My name is Pearlie Wilkins. And I want to know who is responsible for the trees over the sidewalk. In there, you know, the big trees. I'm having a problem when the garbage truck and all that come. They knock all the leaves and things, the limbs, since the storm came, the leaves and stuff, the limbs is hanging down.
Is it in the roadway? Is that where they're hitting it?
Yes.
That is a road commission, so we can...
They was cutting on Mary Catherine, and I went over and asked them, could they cut? They said, we're not responsible for that. I don't know why, you know.
But they were cutting on Mary Catherine?
Yes, they was cutting them. And I went and I told them I used to cut them myself, but I can't go up on a ladder anymore. I'm old. So I asked them would they cut them down. I said, every time the garbage truck, big truck, anything, they just knock all the limbs and stuff down, and I had to pick all that up.
And what street do you live on?
I live on Carroll Ann, 1842.
Okay, we can report that and find out why they wouldn't. If they're in the road right away and causing, people are hitting it.
Yes, garbage
then they
truck
have to trim
every
it.
Friday.
Yep.
They knock
Okay.
all the leaves and
All right.
stuff off the truck.
We will get that reported.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we have board member updates. Are there updates?
Madam Chair, I'd just like to give a quick update on the election. As you all know, August 6th is our election. We are having this Thursday, the 17th at 10 a.m., our public accuracy test. That's where we actually have a machine that we do use on election day, and we run through, this time we'll be running through 55 ballots, and it's open to the public just to, you know, help ensure election integrity so that you're able to see that all the numbers of the, you know, votes that are cast on those ballots, the test ballots, that they match the ticket that reads out. So again, that's Thursday at 10 a.m. On 7/22, which I believe is a Thursday, oh, no, next Monday is the last day to register to vote in any other way than in person. So if you wanted to update your voter information, if you're moving to a different home, if you need to do anything in regards to your voter information, you can still do that in person or online at the Michigan Voter Information Center until July 22nd. After July 22nd, you're still able to do all of those things, updating your voter registration, requesting a ballot. You just need to come into our office to do that, or your local clerk. As of today, the last time I checked, our township has issued 8,732 absentee ballots, and we've received in a little over 2,000. So we're about at 25% received in, which is great. But if you guys have absentee ballots, please try to get them in early for the sake of your local clerk. Thank you. And early voting will begin on July 27th and run through August 4th. Here in the township, if you're an Ypsilanti Township resident, we have 2 sites for early voting. This room is one of them. The other location is at our community center on Clark Road. Our hours are 8:30 to 4:30 every day except for Tuesday. If you just think of Election Day being Tuesday, the Tuesday right before, we're open from 11 to 7 for any of those folks that might, not be able to make it in by 4:30. So 11 to 7 on July 30th and 8:30 to 4:30 all other days, July 27th through the 4th. And I think that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our office or tell all your friends to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other updates from board member? Trustee Swanson?
One thing I wanted to say is that when I was at the Rosie show this weekend, was very nice. I agree, Ms. Kaiser. But I had a chance to talk to a couple of our new firefighters. And I know that Karen Wallen and Attorney Winters worked really hard to negotiate that contract, and the board supported it in the hopes that it would help attract new firefighters. And just talking to, I think I talked to 2. The contract's having the impact that we wanted it to have. People excited to be here, grateful for what's in the contract. And I think Karen said we may be fully staffed soon. So we appreciated the work when it was done, but to hear what that meant in the lives of the new firefighters and how grateful they were was just really I was really happy to hear that, because I know that's what we wanted to accomplish, and it sounds like we're well on our way.
Hearing another, a motion to adjourn?
Support.
Motion Eldridge, support Rowe, all in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned at 7:23.